So in this video, we're going to take a look at the exam tools, which, as the name suggests, are tools or aids that allow you to be able to, help you throughout the exam, to make notes or whatever. So often it's a replacement for things like a physical calculator or even a notepad and pen. So let's just have a look at them. So I'm in the exam here. I've got 2 questions within this exam. And what I want to do is I can go over here to the right. I can see that there's a toolbar there. Now, some of these tools are going to be available to me for every single exam. The exam tools, however, are configured by the examiner before the exam. So some of the exam tools that you might see here, like for instance, the notepad, the stickies, the drawing tools, and the calculator, may be enabled or disabled by the examiner, depending on your exam. So you might see some of these, and then again, you mightn't see any of them. Okay, so let's have a look. So we've got the full screen is the first one. We can also got the review option, which allows me to be able to review particular questions before I submit them. So I can just kind of skip through them. And then the next option I have here is to use the accessibility options. I can change the color contrast or change the font size or zoom in if I want to. So the first of the optional exam tools here is the calculator. Now in this exam, the examiner has configured a scientific calculator for me. The other option would be a basic calculator just to do kind of simple arithmetic. So this is a calculator I can just use to make calculations along the way. The next option is the flag option, which allows me to be able to flag items. This is particularly useful if I go back to the review section. You can see I flagged question 1. So when I'm doing my final review, say if I had 20 questions here, I could flag a certain amount of them. And if I wanted to, I could just do a filter and just show up those flagged ones. So again, it's kind of useful for me to be able to go back to questions if I think I need to before I submit the exam. Now, the next of the optional exam tools is the notepad. Now, the notepad allows me to be able to kind of make notes throughout the exam. And as you can see, as I move through the questions, I can still see that notepad. And if I wanted to, of course, I can just minimize that and move it out of the way as I'm doing my exam. Now, that differs slightly from the next tool, which is the sticky pads. And so with the stickies, what I can see is that I can start making notes. But the difference between the stickies and the notepad is that the stickies are associated with particular questions. So for example, with question 2, when I move to question 1, that sticky disappears. When I go back to question 2, I can see that sticky. And of course, I can make more than one sticky if I wanted to as well. I can kind of make lots of different notes as well. I can also, of course, just hide those just to move them out of the way, and then actually just show them as well. So I can toggle the visibility of those stickies as well. The next tool that I can use is the drawing tool. As you can see, I've made some drawings here already, but I can use that. I can kind of turn off this dotted kind of grid there if I wanted to as well. And they're things to be able to kind of help me throughout the exam. Now, the one thing to remember about exam tools is that none of this is submitted with the final exam. So the examiner can't actually see what you've made note of throughout the exam. So really, this is just kind of an aid for you to be able to do the exam yourself. It's kind of your own personal notes, your own personal notebook, your own personal calculator, essentially. It's not anything that's going to be submitted with the exam.